Welcome to the Business Chaser, your quick pour of strategy, clarity, and momentum. We skip the small talk and get straight to the strategy here in these bite-sized episodes. We're here to help you grow smarter, market better, and chase what matters, all in 15 minutes or less. I'm your host, Lauren Najar. Tune in and let's chat. Hello. Welcome back to the podcast. Today's Business Chaser. Let's talk about starting a podcast. I'm not going to say I'm a super expert, but I am going to tell you the things I would do again and I would not do. I think that now that I have a year under my belt and I've recorded double episodes over the year. So we record 2 episodes a week. We release 2 episodes a week. So even before our year anniversary, we're over 100 episodes already. So I've done a lot of recording. I think my biggest thing that I really like doing is that I really took my time to launch. I recorded episodes and just kind of went with the flow. I didn't really need to have numbers and KPIs and I just needed to know what this podcast was going to be about and what I wanted to do with it. I did not care that I don't even know what to expect because I'm not around other people with podcasts. I am around a few, but one of my clients has 15,000 downloads a month. That's unrealistic at this point. She's had a podcast. She has 300 episodes. She's had podcasts for a really long time. So there aren't any, I didn't know what to expect, truly. I know that downloads are important, streaming is important. And I was originally thinking that I would do this all on my own, which that was a mistake. So I love the idea. I love my approach to it. So that's what I'll say. I was so in love with my idea and I was so excited and I still love my idea and I still love this podcast and I love what it's about. And I'm just going to keep refining that. I think that's why it has been so easy to never miss a week and to never miss an episode because I've had the support. Not only did I have the support, but I get excited to talk to people and get to know their stories because what this podcast is about has always been story driven and wanting to have the deeper conversations. And because I'm so focused on building relationships in my business, it's easy to have those, to just ask my friends to be on here. So I think my approach and my mindset going into starting a podcast, I would recommend that to everyone. If you're just oh my God, I need to have this perfect launch and this perfect episode and focus on this, I wouldn't do that. I think that what I love now coming in a year later is now kind of see numbers and I can okay, these numbers are for this level of effort that I've had. I have been very reactive to what people want me to say, who wants to be on my podcast. I have not intentionally planned out or structured anything other than of course over releasing episodes on Mondays and Fridays and then the social media content. We need to post on these days about this. So in reality, I haven't gone out and I've asked people to be on my podcast, but they've all been my friends. Many of my guests it's just naturally come up in conversation and or I'll post on my Instagram and they're oh yeah, I'll be a guest. Cause I'm hey, I'm looking for a guest who wants to be on there. So, and then also I get pitches all of the time. So again, I've been reactive on who I'm saying yes or no to because I get these pitches. I'm yeah, sure. I can record again. One thing that I am proud of, and I actually didn't mention this in my Monday episode is I feel more confident now to pitch myself to other podcasts. Not that I've always pitched myself. I've always felt confident in that way. But now I have that collaboration attribute where I can say, I want to be on your podcast for these reasons, blah, blah, blah. And if you're open to collaborating, let's do a podcast swap. And I don't know necessarily if I'm getting more yeses that way because I think sometimes people still are intentional about what podcast they want to go on. But I think it's really cool because if I do want to be on a podcast with somebody who, of course, I think has a really cool podcast, then I get to have them on mine, which is really cool as well. And then there's cross promotion and that's double visibility for you. So I think that's a really cool thing now that I have a podcast and I have that as leverage, I think. And I don't think it's I truly, I say that and then I don't want people to get confused and be oh, I need a podcast for more leverage to, promote myself for collaboration or any of those things. I don't think that that's the case. I don't think that you need something to offer in collaboration just to pitch yourself. You definitely don't need to do that because I definitely have a whole lineup of podcasts that I was on way before I had my own podcast episode or podcast myself. So I think the things I did really well is like consistency. We posted and we posted content consistently. I definitely I had a marketing assistant that was helping me for a while on that. And hiring a podcast manager was to help me even launch. And then she's been with me now for close to this year. And so I think I think having all of the help, because for a large part of this past year with hosting events and traveling, there were weeks I didn't even sign into my business or the podcast Instagram. I didn't have to do any of the graphics. I didn't have to do any of the show notes. I didn't have to do any of that. And it was just I was so passive about it. So I didn't have to worry about that. And my podcast is not making money. It's not like bringing in that much money, right? So like my business has been able to support podcast editing and things like that up until this point. What things that I would do differently? So I was really happy with how many episodes I batched, and I just kept recording without a launch date. So I had close to 40 or 50 episodes. I'm not kidding. Where we were batched out until like 2026. I have episodes that are airing in these last couple of months that were recorded last year. And so I'm happy I batched and I'm happy I banked a lot of episodes. But I think what I would do differently, what I'm doing differently going forward is I actually took like 3 or 4 months off from recording. I might have done one episode here or there if I wanted to. But now is when I'm actively recording with guests again, just for a little bit because I think we're already out into November. So I'm recording this in August. This is coming out in August. So like we're still 3 months out. And I don't think I want to be more than 3 or 4 months out when I have a guest on. And also too, this just kind of goes deeper into like the PR thing and going on like podcast tours when you want to promote stuff. I want those people to be on my podcast in a timely manner. So like if they're launching something, say in 3 months time, I want to be able and I've gotten pitches for that. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. Like I can't have you on. It's like your 6 months. I already have all these people lined up. I want to be able to be that podcast that is like, and I know I can like switch things around and like delay episodes, things like that. I don't really want to do that. I want to be fair to the guests that do come on and have expectations of when their episode is going to air. So I think that I would do that differently. And I am going to do that differently. I think that my mistake that I had made was thinking that I could do all of this myself. And I think that did further delay my launch because I was trying to edit my first episode and I'm just like, I don't even know what I'm doing. Now I need an intro. I need an outro. How do I get my podcast on all of these platforms? And so like, it's a lot of like looking things up and research. You can figure it out and you can do it. But I think like my ability that I didn't want to reach out and do any of that stuff, like I didn't really care to do any of that stuff. So my podcast manager came and saved the day. And that was the first thing that we did was we picked a launch date. I'm like, okay, we're going to launch from the month in a month. Since the date I hired her, in 1 month we launched and we got 4 episodes launched. And so then she was just like editing and doing all this stuff for me. And it was really cool. The next thing that I'm going to be doing going forward, and I don't know if I would say this is a mistake. I think maybe like I would do it differently. And was starting to get this urge maybe like earlier this year to do things differently is I want to be more intentional with who I have on because for a while, I was just saying yes to pretty much every pitch. And I think it was a mix of like people pleasing, but also like, oh, wow, they're pitching to be on my podcast. Also, like not feeling like I want to read their whole pitch. But now I'm saying no more because I'm more interested in having people that I'm inspired by and that I actually have a relationship with. And I have gotten away from that. And so I think like I am wanting to have more people on and I want the opportunity to have people on again, which I actually am going to have someone on for a second time. And her episode hasn't even aired yet. Her first episode hasn't even aired yet. And we're talking now to schedule another time for her to be And she's a really cool business owner doing things completely different. I'm excited for you to hear her episode when it does air the first time. And then we're in the middle of scheduling a second episode as well. But I want my friends to come on here again. I want, even like my sister to be on here. I want my brother to be on here. So I think like I loved my attitude, my mindset going into it. Like, I don't know what to expect. But now a year in, and even maybe like 7 or 8 months in, I could see how being reactive or kind of lazy around this is like, well, that's why it's not making any money. You can be more intentional with this. And I don't think it's necessarily like, oh, the guests, whatever guests you get are going to bring you in money. I don't see that. I've had pretty big guests on here with large followings. And the episodes that do better are the ones that are like local business owners or have a local engaged community, not someone who has 40,000 Instagram followers or 500,000 TikTok followers. So I think like going forward, I'm excited because I want to be intentional about not only how to monetize it, but how to have guests on here. And I'm going to bring in partnerships and sponsorships as well, which if you are familiar with how I do growth and connect retreats and events, I really want to partner with brands who are going to make my clients' lives better and who makes my life better. And so, like, for instance, Flowdesk. I never talk about Flowdesk on here, and I am a huge partner with Flowdesk. I recommend that to all of my clients, and all of my clients have been there for years. And that's something that, like, if you're looking for an email marketing platform, like, I have a code and I can give you 25% off. And you can have one of the best email marketing platforms out there for just like simple use and business and all of the things. And every day they're getting stronger. So like that's just a little example of like what I think is to come. I want it to be beneficial for whoever's listening. I want to make sure that we're telling really good stories. And, I want to make sure I'm interviewing people that I not only know for the most part, but I really want to get to know, maybe people that you want to hear from. And so I said this on my Monday episode, but I would absolutely love if you gave me any feedback of who you want to hear from, what stories you want to be told, what do you want to hear from the podcast as a whole? And also, like, do you have a favorite episode? Do you have a favorite guest? Because I would love to have them on again and dive deeper into something else. I think that there is a lot of room for growth here with Business Over Cocktails. I think that, these are the things that I'll do differently. These are things that I love that I did in the first year. I'm excited for the new year. I'm excited for year 2. I'm excited to see how big we can go and seeing if our numbers can grow a little bit more. But thank you again so much for listening over this past year. I'm so interested to know if anyone has a favorite episode or a favorite guest or a favorite topic we talked about. Please message me on Instagram at Lauren Najar at Business Over Cocktails. And here's to year 2. Cheers. That's your quick hit of clarity and momentum for the week. If it sparks something, share it with a friend or tag us in your stories at Business Over Cocktails and or at Lauren Najar. We love seeing what resonates. Don't forget, Mondays are for full-length episodes with rich conversations, and Fridays are the Business Chaser episodes. These are bite-sized insights pulled from our guests to keep you inspired and aligned throughout the week. Do you have a question or a takeaway? DM us at Business Over Cocktails. We just might feature it in a future episode. Cheers!